Hello, everyone. Good to see you all. Please confirm you can hear me wherever you're joining from. You can type you can put in a comment in the chat. And once I confirm you can hear me, I'll be able to proceed. Please type in the chat if you can hear me. Great. I can see a comment by Martin. Hi there, Martin. Where are you joining from? And what are you looking forward to study? So thank you. Good to see you, Daniel. I'll just start in a few seconds, and I'm glad you can hear me well. Thank you very much. So in today's session, my main aim is to discuss the feedback from chevening reading committees, the kind of errors they got from applicants who submitted their essays this year, and probably we can reflect on those errors and see how anyone who's planning to apply for chevening scholarship as it opens next month, that they're able to improve on on their essays and submit quality applications. So if you're here and you've applied for chevening multiple times, please know that chevening is very competitive. Every year they receive over 70,000 applications from all over the world, and only 1,000 or 1,400 or less than 1,500 every year make it. And every country has a certain number that based on the budget. So that means being a very competitive scholarship, you have to write quality essays. So one of the things to note before I start is that um, chevening or any quality application takes time. So it's good to start early. And starting early means also that you'll get reflections as you write your essays. So you'll get insights in a number of weeks. Maybe a paragraph you wrote last week starts becoming clearer maybe this week, and that is the reason why you need to start making your or drafting your essays early enough. I'll also be taking you through and referring to some of the things I've said in my blog, or also I've made videos before on chevening scholarship, and that means that is the way you can keep on reflecting, because those videos are short. And also the blog article is also going to details on some of the things that I'll be mentioning today. So generally, this is the feedback that chevening has given based on the applications they received, that some candidates did not go into detail about the networking. So they didn't mention any of their networks. So this is general, but then I'll also move on and give now to for every essay that you're required to write for the chevening application. So I think based on my years reviewing applications, and every year I mentor over let's say over 50 applicants at various stages, either they're writing essays or through chevening mock interviews. I think one of the hardest essays I've noted is on the networking essay. I think people just in one way or the other do not get what's required, and it's quite really important. So, but today I'll explain into details why, because one of the challenges that people make, and I'll come to it when I discuss the networking essay, is that people do not are not able to show how they benefited from those networks. So yes, you can meet a lot of people, but if it's third parties who are benefiting and not you, then that doesn't become a perfect networking example. But that's general. We'll go into details afterwards. So the other general feedback that came was um, people are not showing the results, either from the leadership or networking examples. And the other one is that people are not able to link the answers or examples back to chevening. So you need to understand that you're not just applying for any scholarship, you're applying for the chevening scholarship. And for the answers that you give, then you also have to link them to the chevening scholarship. So based on that, I'll be starting on the I'll be starting on the leadership and influence essay. And basically, this essay, what you're required to say to show is that you have the leadership and influence skills. So, and how do people show that they have leadership and influence skills? Is because they're able to convince people to join their courses, maybe things like fundraising, people to convince maybe people in authority to maybe agree with you, also launch initiatives in the community. So, one of the things that came up from the chevening writing committees or reading committees this year on the leadership and influence essay is that people are not drawing from recent examples. And this is quite unfortunate because and something again, you'll find it in my blog. At this level, you should not be using leadership examples from your high school or even primary school to make it worse. So I think even right now, if you've graduated and if you've, of course, all of you have graduated, that's the reason you're applying for chevening. But if you have had years of experience, then you should draw from recent examples. So that could be an example probably from your workplace where you've been working. And leadership example, it doesn't mean you held a leadership position. So you might be junior, but you did things that actually demonstrated or you have leadership qualities, not necessarily holding high positions in your workplace. You could also have an example from your volunteering activities or things you do at the community level. And that is how you draw from recent examples other than drawing from high school. But sometimes I think you can also draw from, if you're a recent graduate, you can also draw from an example from your university, from your university, if you're in student leadership of the initiatives you did at the university level. So, so that is many applicants have the tendency of using examples um, from the academic experiences and to make it worse, they were coming from high school or secondary school. From the leadership and influence, there were also that some applicants assume that having a high position at your workplace guaranteed them, or maybe their essays would be great. But the idea here is that it's not the position; it's what you did with the position, and that's the reason I tell people the position is not the main thing that you should be mentioning. Is the problem that you solved in that position. So, and because you write these essay, you have a word limit of 500 words. What that means is you have to say what is important. Otherwise, you might write out of the 500 words. That means, let's say, for every example, you use 150 words. If you have three examples and you have maybe 50 words to use in the introduction and the conclusion, then that means 150 words to give a quality example of how you've demonstrated leadership. That means you have to be very careful or you have to exactly go direct to the point. So, what does this mean? So ideally, what I advise applicants is maybe list like 5 examples of how you demonstrated leadership in your life, and then maybe select the top three. You could use your friends or family to help you and say, when I say this, when I give this as a leadership example, which one appears stronger if you compare the five that you've given. So the top applicants here, the top tip here is actually to use the star approach. And the star approach is, of course, S is for situation, T is for task, and A is for action, and R is for results. So that means when you're using the star approach, the idea is not to go into history how you are pointed to a position, but to start at the situation. So, for example, I find people when they're giving examples for their leadership, they start saying how they were appointed in X position, and then they give other stories after that position. So before they start giving you the problem they were going to solve, we are in the, let's say, the fourth sentence of the paragraph, which is quite problematic because I advise people to go direct and say, in 2022, while serving as the program manager for X project in my organization, I realized there was this challenge. So you've gone directly, and that's how you should start that example. And then you kind of now go to the task. That is, what were you required to do? And this should not be one thing. It should be like maybe two or three things. And then you move on to action. What exactly did you do? So there's a difference between task and there's and action. So action, then you explain what you did. And one of the errors that the reading committees have raised is that while people can do things in groups, and it's okay to give examples in groups, you should focus more on your contribution. So not necessarily your sentence should not start with we, but you should focus on starting with yourself. That is I, or you. That means you need to focus more, when you have examples that you did stuff in groups, then you need to focus on what was your contribution in the group, but not what the group did. So that's the main thing while writing the 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 leadership example. Moving on to the, and then when I keep on telling people that you need to have a strong conclusion, and the strong conclusion is where you can link with the with chevening. So you need to say, what does applying for chevening or getting chevening mean to you in terms of your leadership? So so you could say, getting chevening scholarship will broaden my leadership leadership skills to solve, and then you, based on what you write in the other essays, to solve now what problems. Do you want to deal with food insecurity in your country? Do you want to empower women and girls? Do you want to maybe promote the use of technology in your country? So, and of course, you'll need leadership skills. So you need to link achieving and leadership and what you want to do in the future in your conclusion, and that can be one sentence. You don't have to say a lot of things there. So then we go to the networking essay. Again, this is the second and the most important, or one of the most important essays, leadership and networking. But I find most applicants making errors here. And the main error is that candidates are not able to show how they've benefited from their networks. So yes, people give very nice examples how they've met so and so, but at the end of the day, they end up explaining how they fundraised money for a certain cause that took 100 kids to schools. But how did you benefit? So we are looking at your professional development. Either you getting an internship, you learning new skills, you getting new mentors, you getting a job. That is how you should frame your networking example. So, and this means you also need to go direct to the point. Don't give stories, because this is what applicants do. So ideally, this is what I say, you should start like, in June 2023, I attended the annual Law Society of Kenya conference. You see, you've already indirectly said, you kind of go to, this is the Society for Lawyers in my country, or advocates in Kenya. So you've already kind of highlighted the kind of networks you're in. And then you don't need to highlight how you met so many people. You need to go specific and say, I met so and so. I need to show that you're the one who initiated the networking. So the person is not the one who approached you, it is you who approached them, to show that, this is how now you show how you network. That you're the one who approaches people in authority, or someone made a presentation and you didn't understand it fully, so you went and approached them afterwards, or you had a question, or all those kind of things. And then you end up showing how you built that relationship, and 1 year down the line, that person was able to help you get a contract, a tender, or a job, or they're able to tell you there was an opening in their organization. So again, the result there is showing that you got a job, or you got an internship, or someone agreed to review your essays. I've had so many applicants over the years who've given an example of how they're able to link up with Chevening alumni on social media, be it LinkedIn or Facebook, and the people help them write better essays. So those are examples you could give. But at the same time, I also feel like when you all of you give the same examples, then the competition also becomes, or kind of also stiff. So you need to be very unique in terms of the examples you give. Again, people can give good networking examples, but they fail to mention their networks. So you need to kind of bring the organizations you're in. So for example, for those people who are in Rotaract or Rotary, so you can, or Toastmasters, such organizations which are known for professional skills development, you need to bring them in. And you could say how you attended maybe a Rotary event, and then you met someone, and then you end up explaining how you've kept in touch with that person. Is it through emails? Is it through messages? Is it through calls, or through coffee meetups? And how that relationship, and it's here we are talking about professional relationship, they end up building your career, or you end up benefiting. The idea is, and the example ends where you benefited actually. So the moment you give your example, it should end where you benefited, because you've shown that, or you're trying to demonstrate to Chevening that if you give me this opportunity, I'm going to network, and I'm going to build myself from this and from these networks that chevening presents. The last thing that I would say about what the from the reading committees that came up was applicants are not able to link this to chevening. Chevening right now has an alumni community of over 55,000 alumni, and there's also an alumni network for every country. So in your conclusion, you need to show how you're going to network with the Achieving Alumni organization in your country. So, for example, you could say that after you get Chevening, you're going to link up with other scholars in the UK, especially those who will be in your uni or those who will be maybe in your field because you find people in the same field. Let's say if you're in public health or you are in things like food security and development, you're able to link up with other scholars from other countries and you learn from them what they're doing right in their country and and also how you're going to network with the chevening community now. Also, chevening community also includes the secretariat, uh, the kind of events you'll attend, the best of British, the events that chevening scholars attend. At the same time, how you're going to link up with people who are in your field, in your country. There are also activities that are done by the alumni organizations in every country. They apply for a fund from the chevening and then they hold events. So you need to bring these things, and these things you need to be very clear because you have a limit of 500 words, and I'm assuming you don't have even 150 words to say this in your conclusion. So you need to say how you're going to network while in the UK. You need to say how you're going to network once you come back home, and and you need to demonstrate how this links up now to what you want to do in or what this means for chevening. So what people kind of do not get is because they're very limited. uh, for example, when I was reviewing essays a few weeks ago, someone mentioned they're going to network with scholars. I mean, I found that kind of they're limiting themselves. Yes, it's right to network with scholars, but you also need to network with other people, um, including also your professors or lecturers or people who will be teaching you, because you might find yourself collaborating with them in a number of years um, after you finish your degree or during your degree. I've had people who um, have finished their masters and they've been invited by their maybe program directors or lecturers to co-author papers or chapters of a book. So how can you do that if you don't have the right networking skills? So you need to start thinking and give that comprehensive story of networking, how you've networked before, how you've benefited, and how you're going to network while in the UK, when you come back to your country. Who are you going to network with, and to what gain? What are you trying to achieve in those networks? The third essay that you write is studying in the UK essay, and the top thing that came up from the reading committees is that applicants did not go into details about the courses they were applying. Probably people went into details about the first course, and then the second and the third course, people did not go into details. So you need to explain clearly why you've chosen those courses and how they relate to your future career, or how they relate to what you want to do in the future, or the skills you want to gain, or the competencies you want to gain. So again, I mean, what they said is people were providing sweeping statements, like I want to go to Oxford because it's highly ranked. So what? There are also so many universities that are highly ranked in the UK. Actually, one of the things they said is that don't just focus on the rankings. You need to go deep and say why do you want to go to that course. And here you need to talk about the assessment. How is the course assessed? So, and it's not just copying from the websites and saying it's we'll have some courses I see they have things like field trips. So you don't say I selected the course because it has a field trip. So what? And when I review applicants essays, I ask them, so what? So yes, it has a field trip. You need to give an example. That means I'll be able to combine theoretical knowledge and practical skills, to solve food insecurity in a better way in my country. So you need to bring in those statements that make complete for example, you don't say that I want to go to University of Sussex because it's the best university in the UK in development studies. You need to say why is that important to you. You need to say things like that will help me gain world class knowledge on you know on maybe development issues in my country. What kind of development aspect is it? Gender, because even development is kind of broad. You need to loop in and say how that connects to what you want to do in the future. So what people do in this essay studying in the UK is that they copy so much from the websites. So they just go and copy. Others actually make it worse by using rankings that are so old. So, and at the same time, some rankings don't make sense. I mean, some universities are not highly ranked, but the specific course, they're actually highly ranked. So you need to focus more. If you have to use a ranking on the university or the course, make sure you use the latest and make sure you actually go and explain why that ranking is important to you, because people make the mistake of just um make the mistake of just putting in the rankings there, and they don't say. I mean, it's like you can't say I want to go to University of Reading because it's the best university in the UK in agriculture and forestry courses. I mean, that doesn't make sense to the reading committee. It only makes sense if you link up to what you want to do in the future and explain why that is important to you. So, and that's the main thing that I would say in the studying in the UK essay. So the other thing is that, of course, people have a tendency of maybe using like reasons why they want to join universities, be it the football clubs, be it the cities, be it the culture. I mean, for me, I don't see anything wrong with that, but then it should not be the main reason. You should just mention it like, like a passing wind, you know, uh, like after listing all the reasons why you want to study the University of Manchester, maybe three reasons. You can just put it in half a sentence. If there's a half a sentence, put it that you're also a Man United fan and you'll enjoy watching a game there. But don't put it like it's the main reason. And actually, that is showing that it's becoming now overused. And the reading committees, from what the feedback they gave from the applications this year, it's something they would want people to go deeper and look for academic reasons why they want to go to those universities. So the other thing is the career plan. So, and this is where you're given a chance to dream. So it's free, and dreaming is free. So that means you can say anything that you want in the career plan essay. And they say they want a clear post study career plan. So a clear one. So and the main thing here we tell people is to make it easier for you to write it well, you need to have a short-term career plan and a medium-term career plan and a long-term career plan. So those should be, and they should each should be its own paragraph. So, and how you draft the career plan is you need to mention the position, the organization, and probably what you want to achieve in that position, and maybe who you will collaborate or network with in order to achieve those goals and why those goals are important. So, but the main thing, the main thing that came from this year's reading committee was that people, yes, it's good to have ambition, but some people are having, I think, they didn't have smart objectives. So, for example, you can't say you want to become a minister for agriculture in your country, and you've not even held a community position, even if it's the chairman of a cattle dip in your village. So that means you need to show, you need to be realistic. So goals should also be measurable and should also be achievable. So in this case, you need to be very realistic. You need to advise applicants to maybe plan their goals progressively. So for instance, when I applied for chevening in 2018, because I got it in 2019, 2020, 2017 I had vied for member of parliament in my country. So it wasn't a big deal mentioning that I wanted to go into politics. So, and since the bid was unsuccessful and I was applying afterwards, so I mentioned that I would change I would want to come back, start an NGO that would focus on helping farmers deal with climate change. And I mentioned all the organizations, including financial institutions, that I would collaborate with in order to make it happen. Then from there, my medium term career plan was on becoming the state minister for agriculture in my county or the district level. And what this meant was I could show how the experience from the NGO would build up to now becoming the county minister for agriculture. And then my long-term career plan was I would run again for MP and chair the agriculture and trade committee in parliament. And there I also brought about chevening, because I said the agriculture There's a huge trade that happens between the UK and Kenya, and that as the chair of that parliamentary committee, I'd be in the negotiations, and that would also mean fostering relations between Kenya and the UK. So if you have a way of bringing the link between Kenya and the UK in your career plan, it's good, but it should not be the main thing. Don't try to force it. So if you're doing something in science and tech, and there's a way of linking up between United Kingdom research and innovation, UKRI, then that's great. There are a lot of linkages between science and tech. If you're doing something in education, there are linkages between education institutions back in your country and also in the UK. So remember, the scholarship was started in order to foster relations between countries. So if you can bring that aspect of how you getting the scholarship will foster relations between your country, but I'm saying don't force it. It should not be the main thing. It's just making sure that you stand out in your essays. So again, don't forget the role chevening will play in your career plan. So you need to say the people you need to work with. So one of the questions, and this is the reason why you kind of need to write the essays thinking about the interview questions. One of the questions I was asked during my interview was, in order to achieve your career goals, who do you need to network with? So if you've written you want to become a member of parliament in your country, who do you need to network with in order to become a member of parliament? Obviously, you need to know the religious leaders because they are kind of important when they endorse you. You need to know the youth leaders. You need to know women leaders. You need to know the people who are influential in your community. Are they the learned ones? Are they whoever they are? The youth leaders, whoever. So when you're writing now your essay, you need to think about, when I'm writing the leadership essay, I need to think, if that question comes up in my interview, how can I phrase it? The idea when you're thinking about the achieving essays is to give a comprehensive story. I am a leader. This is the evidence. I did this and this and this, and these were the results. I can network. I have networked before, and this led me to getting this job or getting this tender or this contract or me growing professionally in this way. And this is the reason I want to study in the UK. And these are the courses I want to study, because these courses will help me gain X, Y, Z skills, which will help me solve problem X or ABCD in my country. And then to solve these problems, this is my career plan in the short term. And don't mention 2 years after I return. Just use short term, because these terms, short term could mean 3 years to some people. It could mean 4 years to some people. So don't go mentioning specifically the years. Just say short term, medium term, and long term. So as I was saying, now to complete the story, or the comprehensive story, these are the skills I want to gain, and I want to gain them from these universities or these courses. And once I gain them, this is my career plan. In the short term, I want to do this. I want to collaborate. I want to be this. You need to be very specific. So don't say I want to occupy a senior government position in the ministry of what. You need to be very specific. I want to become senior research economist, or whatever, research analyst in the Ministry of Finance or Planning. And in this role, this is what I want to do. So and to do this, I'll need to collaborate with other departments. You need to mention the departments, and how you'll do it, and why are these things important. What will you be trying to achieve in these positions? Then from there, you go to the medium term career plan and the long term career plan, and you'll have written essays that are telling one comprehensive story. So, to wrap it up, I would also want to say that please do not use bullet points in your essays. I mean, I've seen people coming and writing, just stating things. You need to write in paragraphs. And if you have experience in structuring your paragraphs, you'll know that a paragraph tells an idea. So that means if you go to the maybe career plan, I expect a very short paragraph with an introduction. I expect a paragraph on the short term career plan, a paragraph on medium term career plan, a paragraph on long term career plan, and a conclusion paragraph, which again should be very short, on the on the essay. So that means you don't need to mix ideas, you need to plan them. Have someone who can review your essays. If you approach me when I have time, I'll always be there to review essays. I've done it a number of years. And the other thing I would say is that please know that chevening is not for everyone because it's very competitive, and it's competitive uh, because they just want 1,400 or 1,500 people. So that means even when you're at your best, there'll always be people who will get it and people will not get it. So what does that mean? If you don't get it, you don't stop. You continue improving yourself. So if you submitted your essays last year and you didn't get it, what have you done that is fresh and new that would actually improve your essays this year? Those are questions you need to ask yourself. I'm going to take a few questions. So if you can put them in the chat, I'm going to answer them. I can see one. Um, how many words should be in our essay? So every essay, and you write 4 essays, and every essay is 500 words. So yeah, so every essay is 500 words. And you have 4 essays to write. The first one is on leadership and influence. Second one is on networking. The third one is on studying in the UK, and the fourth one is on your career plan. So, and how many examples should we provide? So, for me, I go for 3 examples for the leadership and the networking. The reason is if you just put two, you will have it's. I would say that is thin. I mean, you need to show that you're a leader, and showing you're a leader, you can use one in maybe two at your workplace and one at outside your workplace, like places you volunteer, organizations you've joined outside your workplace. This again proves to show them I'm not just a leader at where I work. I also lead at the community level. You know what I mean in terms of you don't provide very thin examples. So, and that means if you provide just two, it might appear as thin. If you do more than three, then it will mean you'll be writing like one essay, one example will be like 100 words. That means 100 words you can barely say anything using the star approach in 100 words. So that's the reason you need to balance, and that's the reason the balance is around three leadership examples and three networking examples. So of course, we can go into details, and you can also look at my blog, because my blog I've given examples on how to structure them, and also other videos in the channel. So is there a chance that you have not been a leader and you do theoretical paper? Well, can you get the offer? From my understanding, um, so leadership is not about position. So leadership is all is about the things you do. So it doesn't need to mention about the position. What Chevening is looking for, the problems you've solved. So you need to explain problems you solved in those roles, and those roles might not necessarily be leadership. So it's not about theoretical paper. So it's not about writing abstract ideas about leadership, what you believe leadership is. They are looking for examples of how you've shown leadership in your life. They're looking for how you've demonstrated leadership in your life. So it's not about theory, it's about things you've done. And that's the reason why sometimes when you want to apply for a scholarship, when you have a chance of advising young people in the universities, let them start early, let them start planning early by joining organizations, by taking up positions where they expose their and learn they learn leadership skills. So I have written my leadership essay and I provided 3 examples, but my essay was containing more than 800 words. So I deleted one example and they became two. Is that okay? I'll still go for 3 examples, as I said. What you need to ask yourself for every sentence you write, what are you trying to communicate? Because sometimes I've reviewed essays and I've realized you could delete 2 sentences in a paragraph of someone's essay and you'd lose no information you lose from those sentences you've deleted, because the sentences are not adding value. So you need to ask yourself for everything you write, if you are to put it in the STAR approach: situation, task, action, and result, what what is not adding value to that approach, then you need to remove it. Of course, there are also phrases that you can shorten, because of I mean, there is always a way of summarizing. So there's always a way of looking at what is making sense, what is not making sense in your essays, and probably you need to have someone else look at the essay and help you summarize. I mean, I remember the first time I wrote my essay, I think my leadership one was 1,000 words. So don't be scared because yours is 800 words. Just keep on revising it, and give it to someone else to read it. And once they go through it, probably you might get a drift of how you can get it to 500 words. So I'll just give a few seconds if there's anyone else with a question. And if you need any assistance, you can always reach out to me on my social media channels. Mostly I'm active on LinkedIn. You can also comment on the video. And once you reach out to me, I'll also be able to. I have some time this August. So whoever reaches out to me early enough, um, I'll be able to review some of these essays. All I would say is if you want someone to review your essays, please do not send one by one. You need to send all of them because I've said you'll be there are times I've reviewed people's essays, and one thing I find is that um you find an example that is in networking that actually would fit better. It just needs rephrasing or tweaking and it become a better leadership example. So if you for you to get such advice, it would mean that you've sent all the four essays together. But when you send one by one, then it's hard really for someone to give you such advice. Um, Please do not make spelling mistakes in your essays. It's something that can ruin your applications, because, of course, you need to review them for a number of weeks before you submit them. Um, Martin is asking whether I'll save this video. This video will be it will be saved automatically in the on the YouTube channel, so you can always go and watch it afterwards. And there is more details to on my blog. I've given details of how to write those essays, and I've given some of the examples I gave, or I wrote in my essays. The other thing that you have to note is that if you start early, there's always the chance that you'll get fresh insights. So I know even when I'm doing my academic work at the uni, right now, of course, I do write a lot, literature review, as I do my PhD. And some of the things I notice that sometimes when I write something and forget about it and just keep it somewhere, the idea keeps on developing in my subconscious mind. So you need to start early for you to get to that level. So, but when you write your essays the last minute, then it's very difficult for you to get these fresh insights as you proceed. One of the other things I would say is that when you approach people to review your essays, I mean, I know some people will just get into someone's inbox and say hi. That's not the right way to do. You need to start showing that you know how to network early enough. You need to just go to someone's inbox and say, hi, my name is so and so. I can see you're a chevening alumni. So I've written my essays and would be grateful if you'd help me with a review. So just because sometimes I find so many highs on my inbox, and I'm like, I mean, I get online for like 1 hour in the evening every day, no, not during the day, and then I can't reply to highs. I'll only reply to those messages. So this tells you how you need to prepare yourself to network, by writing the right messages or approaching people in the right way when you're looking for assistance for someone to review your essays. So thank you very much, guys. Enjoy your weekends. And if you have any other question, you can always reach out to me. And all the best in your applications. And remember to apply for more scholarships. Cast your nets wider. There are other scholarships in other countries, other scholarships based at the universities. And I wish you well in your applications. Enjoy your evening and thank you for joining.